going on, everyone? Welcome to AMA, Ask Me Anything. I'm BBer Centopani. I'm your host. There's also Lee Priest, Chris Tuttle, Antoine Vaillant, Guy Cisternino, Milo Sarchev, and James Hollingshead. I want to go over Vegas. I just got home this morning, like 4 in the morning. I'm tired. It was a pretty eventful weekend. So I figured, you know what? Let's just kind of recap it. First and foremost, what prompted the trip. A lot of you may not know, I've never been a big or a good fan of the sport. What do I mean by that? If I go back in time, I never bought magazine subscriptions. I never really traveled to shows, bought tickets, purchased VIP passes, bought DVDs, any of the stuff that a good fan of the sport does. Part of that is a reflection of the fact that I could be kind of cheap. But also, I think I was always just more focused on being a part of the sport or doing the sport, right? Bodybuilding was always something that I liked participating in and maybe wasn't as concerned with being a fan of it, which I'm not sure if that's common or that's rare, but that was the case and kind of still is the case with me. So I was lucky in the sense that over the years, I traveled the world. I've been to over, 25 plus countries. I've been to the Mr. Olympia a dozen times, been to the Arnold just as many, traveled to all sorts of shows. Had I not been traveling with Animal, would I have ever done it on my own accord? Probably not. And this past weekend was actually the first time I traveled to the Mr. Olympia. Well, I shouldn't say that. Back in 2005, a friend of mine was very friendly with Gustavo Bedell. We traveled out there to watch him compete. But since then, I have not traveled to an Arnold or an Olympia on my own accord. If I did, if I went to one of those shows, it was always with Animal as a sponsored athlete. But this year was a little bit different for a few reasons. First reason being I work with quite a few people in the industry, right? People who own supplement companies, individuals who are either athletes, influencers, and going to the Olympia is a good chance to see people in person, shake hands, because when you're doing business with people, it's one thing to talk to them over a Zoom call. It's another to see them in person. And it is always nice to shake hands and speak to somebody in person. Also, with the advent of Centopani's circles on Telegram, if you're not familiar, it's an ongoing, basically like a group chat that takes place on the Telegram app. It's all via video and all day long. It's myself, Jay Cutler, Flex Lewis, Juji Mufu, Chris Tuttle, Frank McGrath, Jose Raymond, Antoine Vaillant, James Hollingshead, Guy Cisternino. Who am I missing? Who am I leaving out? There's too many guys. It's hard to kind of say everybody at once. We talk to each other so much on this app. We wanted to make it a point to get together in person. And with Flex Lewis in recent years opening the Dragon's Lair gym and that becoming kind of a hotbed for action in the bodybuilding community out there in Vegas, we made that the location for the meetup. So Sunday morning we got together. I kind of thought I might kind of give you guys a little bit of insight as to how a bodybuilder, even though I'm no longer competing, how I might go about traveling. Because I think a lot of you watching, whether you are actively competing, whether you're in a show prep, or you just do it recreationally, right? We all have goals, and travel can really disrupt those goals. It can be a real pain in the ass. So I thought I'd just give you a couple little light tips as to what it looks like for me. So having been a pro for so many years and being very, very regimented with my eating, I always found it best to just travel with my food. So when traveling domestically, that's totally within the realm of possibility. Traveling internationally, if I enter the European Union or, times I've gone to Australia, even the Middle East, they're not going to let you bring food into the country. They have all different laws. I don't know if they're technically agricultural laws. I mean, some of them have to do with, like if you bring a fruit, say an apple, to a foreign country, it may not be a species that they want in the country. And they're worried about kind of almost maybe invasive species, or they don't want to screw up their ecosystem with things that aren't meant to be there. I think is the concern for people who've been around livestock. They'll ask you that if you've ever gone through customs, if you've been in contact with livestock, oceanic cultures, viral cultures, blah, 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 blah. So food, usually you're not going to have much success bringing it into another country. But when I travel domestically, I will bring my food, and I will tell you why. First of all, I like my food. and I have a system. I have something I'm used to, and it works for me. And traveling to try to replicate that can be really difficult. Even if you buy a hotel room with a kitchen, is it going to be equipped with what you're used to? Probably not. You're going to have to seek out a grocery store locally. You're going to have to go grocery shopping. And I don't know about you guys, but after a flight, you get up early. You get up at 4 a.m. You travel all day. When I get to a destination, I don't want to go grocery shopping and start cooking. That's just not what I'm looking to do. So it's more efficient. It's more comfortable if I have my food with me. Beyond that, there is the financial consideration, right? So if you're on the road and you're not going to prep your food, what are you saying? Okay, you're going to try to locate it, maybe a restaurant, and you're going to go to them and say, here's a list of what I need. Can you prep this stuff for me? And even if they are willing to do it, then number one, what are the odds they get it right? And number two, they're going to fucking tax you. And I'm not looking to just, spend 3 times what I would normally spend on my grocery bill. It's just stupid to me. Plus, the whole thing is just inconvenient. So I figure I'm going to prep my food at home just as I would prep it in a normal week. The only difference is I vacuum seal, and I will portion out days. So if in a normal day I eat 9 ounces of chicken per meal, and I eat 3 of those meals, well, then I know I need 27 ounces for the day. I'll put 27 ounces in a vacuum seal bag. I'll vacuum seal it. I'll freeze it. I'll vacuum seal and freeze, a relative portion of vegetables for the day, a relative portion of sweet potatoes. I find that, if I'm traveling for 3 days, right? So the day of the travel, I had food already prepped, but I would need food for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So 3 more days. And if all I bring is 3 meals for each of those days, even if they're all the same meals, that makes life very easy, because breakfast is an easy meal to find someplace, right? People, if you travel to a diner, they're not going to fuck up eggs and toast or some potatoes. Very, very simple, and usually not something that's going to break the bank. And when you are traveling, it is nice sometimes to have a meal out. So I will save that for dinner. And just having those 3 meals a day for 3 days is a lifesaver. It saves you money. It saves you time. It saves you a freaking headache. So what I will do is I'll prep, vacuum seal, freeze, and I'll take a cooler. It doesn't have to be a big cooler, something about this big. So, maybe 14 inches long, 8 inches deep, and then 12 inches tall. Put all my food in it, put it in my suitcase, and when I get to my destination, the food is still frozen. Put it in the refrigerator. So in the room that I selected, I did have a kitchen. I didn't actually use it to cook anything, but I liked having a microwave. I liked having a full sink. I liked having a refrigerator. When I get there, I just put everything in the fridge, and I take it out as I need it, right, over the next couple days. So get in there on a Thursday, Friday morning, wake up, take out Friday's, food for the day, put it on the counter, let it thaw, take it as I need it. Makes everything very, very simple. Another thing to consider when you're traveling as a bodybuilder is training, right? Are you going to train? And I've learned over the years, usually it's best if you're due for a break, take the time when you're on the road as a break, right? Because if you're going to an event, you're in a place that you're not accustomed to, there's a few things to consider. Number one, do you really want to be training when you go to an event? You want to maybe be spending time talking to people, seeing sights, watching the show. Do you really want to be in the gym? You could be in the gym any other time, any other day of the year. If I'm in a contest prep or really, really serious, yes, I will go to the gym. If that's not the case, I'll take a few days off, man. Because usually when you're traveling, things are off. Sleep is off. Maybe your hydration is a little bit off. Training in a gym you're not familiar with. And it's very common for guys to get injured when they're traveling. So I usually just stay away from the gym. And if I am going to go to the gym, I keep it light, do a pump style workout, and just kind of get in and get the fuck out. Sleep, right? When you're traveling, you're up. So a lot of times you're up late. Maybe you're meeting friends for dinner. Sleep gets screwed up. I try as much as possible. And again, you don't want to be a stick in the mud, but a lot of times you go to these shows. It's the Arnold, it's the Olympia. Oh, there's an after party here, blah, blah, blah. I did all that shit when I was younger. And let me tell you something. It can really, really fuck you up. Now, I don't know. I don't know about you guys watching. I don't drink. I never found it conducive to the bodybuilding lifestyle. I never liked the way I feel when I drink. And I just stay away from it. So being in that environment, it's doable. But, you start coming home 2, 3 in the morning, and then you want to get up at a reasonable hour, 6, 7 a.m., because you want to make the most of your time there. Now you're running on 4 hours, 5 hours of sleep. Then you go walk around some giant expo and you shake a lot of hands and you're around a bunch of dirty ass fucking people. Then you get on a plane. You're sitting next to a bunch of people, breathing all their air. Guess what happens? You go home sick. And for me personally, taking a few days out of my normal schedule, that sets me back. I'm pretty busy on a day-to-day basis, and taking a few days away, work piles up as it is. So I'm not going to go home sick. I can't afford to do that. When I get home, I need to get caught up as effectively, as efficiently as possible, and get back to things. So you're not going to find me out late. Don't ask me to go to some after party. I'm not going to go. That's my feeling on that. Now, let's talk about the Mr. Olympia itself. So heading into the show, I'm pretty sure the majority of people expected Big Ramy, right, the current Mr. Olympia, to repeat and to win again. Between his size and the fact that for a guy as big as he is, doesn't really, display a oversized waistline, I think most people expected nobody's going to come close. Whew, boy, did that, some surprises. Based on past performances, I very much expected Hadi Chopin to be a threat, very much in contention to win the show. I always felt that pound for pound, he's the superior bodybuilder, and that if anybody came in a little bit off, that dude could take it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened, because Big Ramy came in not looking a whole lot like himself. Now, I don't know what happened there. There's a lot that could go wrong in the final weeks leading up to a show. And with Big Ramy being the professional that he is and working with a team of professionals, I don't believe that he took the last year off or wasn't training hard or didn't do what he had to do to make improvements. I would say that something probably went awry toward the end stages of his prep. Something got fucked up. I'm pretty confident saying that. However, looking at his physique, a couple things stood out was a little bit weird. From the back, his arms looked really thin, like his triceps. And even from the side, it became apparent that the thickness wasn't really there. Ramy did not look like himself. I mean, when I think back and I saw Ramy win the New York Pro in maybe it was 2011. I remember I won it in 2009. Rolly won it in 2010. I think it was Ramy who won it in 11 or maybe 12. And man, when he won that show, he looked incredible. Not to say that he didn't go on to achieve better condition after that show or didn't get bigger overall, but I think in terms of everything all around, that New York look was a really great look. And when he showed up at the Olympia the other night, something was off. The balance in his legs looked weird. Things just looked funky. Derek Lunsford, probably the biggest surprise of the show, coming from the 212 division up to the open and being in contention to win the fucking show. Wow. And Derek's physique is incredible, right? His shape, symmetry, his condition was great. He's heavily muscled. I mean, he's impeccable. But next to Hadi, who had just, a few percent more density, quality, and really kind of just that wow factor, I would say Hadi was pretty much the clear winner. Derek absolutely being the surprise of the night and being good enough to take second, your first time taking a stab at the open and coming from the 212s. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. In third, with Nick Walker, pushing his way into the top three. I mean, that in itself is incredible. I'm not sure exactly how old Nick is, but he's young. He's very young. And kind of the current trajectory that he's on, he's like, really impressive. He looked great. Pushed Brandon Curry, to fourth, who, being a past Mr. O. That's no joke. Brandon looked good. I would say probably in that lineup. There's nothing bad you could really say about Brandon, his physique. You could say maybe his legs are maybe a little bit lackluster, but that's being really picky. I mean, because, unless you've been to a show, okay, and you've seen these guys in person, judging from photos, it's a little bit different. Because you see any of these guys, man, say you're at the front of that stage, they're wicked impressive. Now, Antoine Vaillant and James Hollingshead, two friends of mine, two members of the circles. So I've seen a lot of them in their prep. And of course, being friends with both of them and speaking to them so often, we were all really, really pulling for them. Now, the depth of the show was crazy. And those guys ended up, I believe, in the third call out. But what I'm trying to tell you is, dude, if you saw these guys up close, now you're talking guys that didn't make the top 10. They look incredible. It's easy to, sit there and be like, he looks like shit. He's fat. No, these dudes all look wacky. Believe me, the thing that really, really sucks is for Ramy mentally to go from being first to all of a sudden dropping to fifth. That could really, really get to you. Or with somebody like Ramy, he could know exactly what maybe didn't go according to plan. In his mind, it's an easy fix. But one thing I've learned over the years, do not write anyone off. I've seen guys come in looking like a shell of their previous showing, and people go, oh, he's finished. He's shit. He's washed up. No. Could Ramy, rectify whatever the issue was or come back and win it next year? 1,000%. And anybody who tells you otherwise, unless they know something I don't, probably doesn't know what they're talking about. Then, the second surprise of the night. Holy shit. Dude was huge. Huge shape, condition. I guess you could say that had he had a bit more condition, the dude could have won the show. That dude could absolutely not. I'm not going to sit here and be one of those guys and be like, future Mr. Olympia. That dude Samson can absolutely win that show, because as good as somebody like Hadi is or Derek, Samson with the right condition, with his size, that dude has, I don't want to say Ronnie Coleman size, but kind of. I mean, Ramy in the same lineup, he did not look significant next to Samson size-wise. That dude with razor blade condition, no one is coming close to him. Holy shit. Surprise of the night. Other notables, Andrew Jacked, from behind, his condition left quite a bit to be desired. But man, that dude's got a hell of a shape and he's big. Him, same thing, in razor blade condition. Dangerous, really, really dangerous. Very impressive. It was really a stacked show. There were 30 plus guys. I mean, the first three call-outs were wacky competitive. What a show. Aside from the show itself, the next day we had a meetup at Flex Lewis's gym, the Dragon's Lair, which Flex opened. It's been open a couple of years now, and it's pretty much become the go-to gym in Vegas. When people come out for the Olympia, the USAs, his gym is the spot, and that's a testament to the environment that he's created there, both the aesthetics as well as the equipment that he's selected. Now he has a partnership with Arsenal. Because of his relationship with Arsenal Strength Equipment, probably 95+% of the equipment in there is Arsenal stuff. Now I didn't get a chance to train on it, so I can't speak to that, but it all looked really impressive. And on Sunday morning, we all met 9 o'clock. We got together for a podcast and kind of a meetup. The only person missing was Frank McGrath, and Jose Raymond was also missing. But Jay Cutler, Lee Priest, Guy Cisternino, Chris Tuttle, Antoine Vaillant, Juji Mufu, James Hollingshead, everybody was in attendance. And also, of course, obviously, Flex Lewis. We took some time to just kind of shoot the shit. And it was really great to see everybody in person. Kind of did a podcast, letting people know what's up with the circles. I know I talk about it a lot, but man, like even this past weekend, you got all these guys in Vegas for the weekend, and they're all showing what they're doing. The content is incredible. It's unlike anything that's being done anywhere else. You go on Instagram, and it's very scripted, right? If I know, because I do it myself. If I'm going to record something, I might record it 10 times before I post it, because I want to get it just right. A lot of the photos that people post, maybe they're filtered, maybe they're staged, maybe they're from a professional photo shoot. On Telegram, nothing is scripted. It's live. It's you talking with your boys. So it's all just so genuine. Me being a good example of it, I'm not someone who's a big social media person. I've never felt really, really comfortable with it. But when I post something on Telegram, I'm not posting to my followers per se. I mean, I am, but in my mind, I'm talking to my friends, some of my boys. It's just a whole different dynamic. And it's just not just me who feels this way. Even Jay was kind of saying, man, it's really unique and very, very different from Instagram. And it's something I enjoy. And I think it's something all the guys have come to enjoy. If you're not watching it, you definitely want to check it out. It's Centopani Circles on Telegram. You guys, as always, thank you for watching. Send me more questions. Subscribe. Comment below. I'll talk to you soon.